Nutty North. Hold up. Wait, say that
We
again.
back. We back.
All right,
I need
bro.
to ad lib.
And
We
we back.
back.
We back. Nutty North, presented by Mojo Sports Gear. It's your boy, Rondell Sutherland, or, your host, Rondell Sutherland, here with T. Nesbitt.
Justin Love is disappointed at this moment. Shout out to Justin Love, by the
Yeah,
way.
shout out to Justin. Shout out to Justin.
J Lover, lover.
Yeah.
My dog.
Wait, why you say you disappointed?
Because that was one of the things he told you.
That
If you
is.
paid attention.
Uh, Look, we're Nutty North, presented by Mojo Sports Gear. It's episode 10. Let's say 10. Uh,
Good job.
yeah, let's say 10.
You're like the punter.
The punter?
Yeah, you shanked the punt. You went from Joe
That's
Mixon to the
crazy.
punter that quick.
That's wild.
Mm-mm.
Hey, at least I'm getting fantasy points.
Not last week. Shout out to that.
All right, bro. All right, bro. We talk everything AFC North football, so we about to jump into it. If I could pull out my rundown, we're gonna start off with how the AFC North is looking. Oh, it's right in front of my face.
Gotta get it together, Mr. Dale. Southern Sutherland. But what we talking about? We said the AFC North.
Yeah, AFC North podcast.
I know that, man.
I'm how the AFC North is looking. My bad. I
Um,
just had a notification pop up.
so it just distracted you. You on
Yeah,
your A game.
yeah.
Get your head together. But where we're at is it's about where I thought we would be at, minus the Brown situation.
All right.
Um, I thought after week one, the Browns were they had to, like I've been saying on here, they had to show it. They had to prove something, and the Ravens did too. Um, Unfortunately for the Browns, the Ravens were the ones that showed up and showed out, and got blown out week one. So I mean, that was tough to watch. But on the other hand, that's probably what set the bounce back for that week two for the Browns when they played the Bengals. So that was a good thing to see. Just how they responded, and you have to respond that way if you get punched in the mouth. I'm a little concerned about the Browns defense because I mean Joe Burrow looked like Joe Montana out there for a while,
Right.
and it's we got the win, but it's still going to be concerning if you're a Browns fan. But if you're a Bengals fan, I think you're cautiously optimistic
Yeah, I'm
at this
definitely
point.
cautiously optimistic. Seeing how he runs that offense. I'm hopeful for the future. I'll say that much.
It's the thing that kind of grabbed my attention was how he was going to do after the COVID situation and the lack of training and the lack of camaraderie with the receivers. Just because I mean it's a different world now, and he's the quarterback to start. Excuse me. I know Herbert got in with Los Angeles. Shout out to the team doctor for them for punching Tyrod
You gonna
Taylor's
shout
lung.
out to the team doctor?
Shout out to the team doctor.
That's crazy.
what kind of man? Listen, I what I don't get that. Like, how do you accidentally puncture a man's lung?
I mean, they said it's a difficult process, but from what I was listening to, right? Shout out to the well, not nah, we ain't gonna shout that out. They big time. But I was listening to McAfee, Pat McAfee, and he said it's 99% most of the time. He said 99% of the time it's gonna be correct, but there's 1% you're gonna mess up.
So the
So
1% was Tyrod Taylor.
yeah, it seems like he was unlucky,
This man,
which
talk
is
about
like
unlucky because this is the same situation again with the Justin Herbert situation as it was with Baker. You take one injury for Tyrod, and it is so eerily similar
right,
because I hear Lynn talking about, oh, he's not going to lose his job. He'll have his job when he gets healthy.
right,
That's the same thing that was said about him when it came to Baker. Baker got a win. He didn't see Tyrod Taylor again.
true.
He was shipped out. So I mean, it's kind of what the nature of the beast. It's what comes along with the game. So it is what it is. Um, I just it sucks just because he lost that opportunity. But speaking on Justin Herbert, it was a good thing for him just because he got to get his reps and he wasn't like hoisted in it in a way. Like he
Right.
during training camp, he had time to kind of build some camaraderie. Where Joe Burrows had to, you have to show up and show out right now. And it was going to be difficult with the COVID situation, or at least that's what you thought, because it
Right.
was he hasn't been here before. But that's a shout out to Zach Taylor and their coaching staff that at least on that side of the ball they look good. I think Geno Atkins being out, humongous,
Yeah,
humongous.
Gino was out, Mike Daniels was out, so it's like that's two DTs that are like all pro
Yeah,
level. So it's like that run game. I mean, well, that run defense definitely wasn't. Even with Gino, the run defense still isn't much to desire. But without him, come on.
I mean it's levels to it. So if you have Geno, then Reader gets better. If you have Reader, then Mike Daniels gets better.
Right.
When you don't have none of them, then the Covingtons have to step up, and
Yeah.
the backups on the backups have to step up.
Yeah, because I want to say we did have DJ Reader, right?
Yeah, we did have Reader, but
Yeah.
still, he's not in his spot. DJ Reader was there to complement Geno Atkins
Right.
because Geno Atkins has never had a D tackle around him that was the talent level of him,
Of him, yeah.
and he never had nobody that was the talent level of Mike Daniels either.
Right.
Now, and we talked about this before on the show. That defensive line can make an argument for being the best defensive line in the whole entire AFC if they're together.
Yeah.
Them not being together, now you look at Baker Mayfield, and he didn't look like Johnny Manziel that week. Um, After week one, I refused to call Baker Mayfield Baker Mayfield. I kept calling him Johnny Manziel because that's what he looked like. That's the trajectory he was on. And I'm hard on him
Right.
because that is my team, and I want to see him do well. But I'm going to be realistic. We stunk up the joint. So for him to respond the way he did, it was a lot of him doing what he needed to do, but it was a lot of the Bengals being hurt too. You know what I'm saying? But mentality wise, you still are happy in a way as a Bengals fan because it's kind of going the way that you need it to go.
Yeah.
You're showing you're not getting blown out, you're not getting beat down, you're not getting overwhelmed. You had two opportunities to win. You didn't win, and you can make an argument that it was the refs week one.
Oh, it was definitely the rest.
You can make that argument, but at the end of the day, you lost. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the fact that you're still in it, that's one game. The fact that you were still in the Browns game, that's another one. You got the losses, but it's not gonna matter in the draft time when you're picking top 5, top 10, and you add another blue chipper to that roster. And excuse me, now you have your quarterback, so you don't have to worry about anything else once you have your quarterback.
I
Joe
mean, the
Mixon
most we
is
got to worry about with having our quarterback is he don't turn out like Andrew Luck, because that's what is looking like. That's the same trajectory.
well, it's early, and I
Yeah.
think Andrew Luck, he kind of that was more of a veteran team when he got there. They
Right.
just Peyton Manning. They were built around Peyton Manning. And when Peyton Manning was out, it was kind of like it reminds me of the Tim Duncan situation in San Antonio. Like you had a high quality vet that could do some things for you, but by the sheer fact that that vet was hurt, then you have to bring in a young gunner, and that young gunner is supposed to take you to that next decade. But in Andrew Luck's case, that team was kind of built for the playoffs. It's just Peyton Manning, they needed that all pro level quarterback to go to where they needed to. If they
Right.
didn't, they were going to end up in the top 5. But when he came back to them and he was able to play, that showed them 11-5 seasons. He did what he had to do because that team was built to win. I think the difference between him and Joe Burrows, the Bengals aren't built to win. The Bengals they're going to have to be built into a winner. They were built to win over the last few years with Andy Dalton and AJ Green, that situation, but they weren't built to take it to that next step. Now I think Mike Brown is looking at building that Bengals team to take the next step. That's why he spent more money. Which that money because you had such a bare roster, so you're spending money. That's cool because you're bringing talent in, but you're still going to need another draft class, another one of these free agent classes to truly turn it around. But the number one thing is to see progression out of Joe Burrows, and as long as you have that, then you know that Joe Mixon will be better because of it eventually because he stunk the whole joint up last week.
I mean,
Shout out to him for that. But
I wouldn't say it was mostly Mixon's fault. You know, it's that I say it's Zach Taylor and his play calling. He's not really giving Mixon the ball like he should be. Because as impressive and as great as it is to see Joe Burrow throw for like 70 passes, I don't need to see that all game, every game. We have an elite running back. Like 2 years ago, well, during the end of Marvin Lewis' tenure, he was He was the top running back in the AFC North. What happened to that? Well, he was the top running back in the AFC. He was one of them. Like, what happened to that? It's because Zach Taylor's not giving him the ball like that. He's not getting started. He's a downhill runner. Like, once you get him started, over the course of the game, he'll get better and better. But
I agree with that. I just I think what it boiled down to, at least for these first two games, is these are the live bullets for Joe Burrow. We know we have a Joe Mixon. It's kind of like being married.
all right,
Like, if you like, you put a ring on it. In this case, it was they put a contract on his hand, and now we paid you. You got your bread. Chill out.
all right,
Now we worry about Joe Burrows because you got what you wanted. We'll figure you out later because we know your talent. But Joe Burrows needs to drop back 500 times because he needs these live rounds. He needs these live bullets. And I think that's where Zach Taylor's kind of emphasizing. And I'm kind of in that boat that Zach Taylor may not be the coach long term for him,
all
but he
right.
may be the coach that is going to develop him for the coach of the long run for him. So I think that his job, and he knows it because this it's a piece of it is politics.
Mm-hmm.
If Zach Taylor can show that Joe Burrows can be, let's put him in that last year's rookie of the year. His name I'm forgetting his name now. Murray. Um,
Oh, Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Oh,
If he can give you some of that Kyler Murray type of production where the record's not really good, but you look at that offense and you say, okay, wow,
right.
they look like they're ready to take a step. And maybe it's they can have that same trajectory where you look at them this year. Kyler Murray is sitting at 2-0 right now. The Arizona Cardinals are sitting at 2-0 with a fresh DeAndre Hopkins to go to because Kyler Murray made that team appealing. Kingsbury's still there. That keeps you a job because you're offensive coach. Your offense looks good. So I think with Zach Taylor, I'm not going to get the credit that I think I deserve with Joe Mixon, but I'll get the credit that I think I deserve if I get Joe Burrows together. So that's just emphasizing what that is, and that's probably coming from the up top. Make sure Joe Burrows looks good, and we'll worry about the rest later. Joe Burrows and AJ Green has to get on the same page. That's another thing you got to look at. AJ Green he's out there, but he's still kind of trying to find his way. He's not the AJ Green that you're used to seeing yet. He's coming, but he's
Right.
not there yet. So once that comes around, because I know Joe Burrows averages 5.8 yards a attempt at this point. That's going to change when you have AJ Green that's really taking the top off of that. When you have Tyler Boyd that's working the middle and running kind of deep posts and getting a slant game together. When you have John Ross that can step out and do his thing. We have T Higgins that can step out and do his thing. They can open up Joe Burrows to be able to produce that way. And when the defense comes, now you don't have to pass it so much because the defense is getting you off the field. I think last game was a big shootout. So I mean that was kind of the issue with that. Going to the Ravens, I mean, they are who they are. I mean,
Meanwhile, while you talking, I'm gonna show this real quick. The
they're
AFC North as it stands right now.
they're a well-oiled machine at this point. And that's good for them
Right.
because they could have kind of came for a letdown, but again, that week one was a proven game for both. And the fact that they came out and they stepped on the Browns' throat, like that shows that they want to establish dominance in that division. And they could have, took it and kind of played around with them. They came and dominated from the start. Now, on the Browns side of it, it was kind of the Murphy law of games. Like what could go wrong did go wrong in that, and it was all bad. You would think that they probably wouldn't have another game like that. At least you would hope they would have not have another game like that where you're running fake punts on your own 30,
Hold
caution,
up, wait. They ran a fake punt
ran a
on that.
fake punt on the 30.
That's
It was a fumble by Mark Ingram that bounced about 10 yards, and Lamar Jackson picked it up for another 5 yards. You know what I'm saying? There's missed field goals, missed extra points. Odell Beckham drops the ball to get the first. Like so many things happened wrong, but the Ravens made them pay every time that week one. But that's what you do when you're kind of in that tunnel vision mindset that you're trying to come in, dominate, do what you have to do, run the ball down the throat. You didn't even recognize that Mark Ingram averaged, I think, 2.8 yards to carry that game.
oh yeah, he stunk that up that game. I
He
think
did.
he had
That was
like I want to say J.K. had a better game in the run game than Mark Ingram did. Like yeah, he didn't do too well. I think he had like 40 or 20 something yards because he's on my fantasy team. I know that much.
yeah. It didn't matter because they were that dominant.
Right.
And I mean, coming in with that momentum that they have now. This is a huge week because they have to deal with Kansas City. But I think it kind of you had to come out and you had to establish who you were because if you had lost week one, as much as I would have liked to see it, if you'd have lost week one, now you have questions.
Right.
Now it's a thing now. Do they have a hangover? Was last year fluke? Now you're not asking that question because they dominated week one and week two. So I mean, they are who they are. The Squillers,
The Steelers. I will say one thing. They're looking more impressive than I thought they would, but you can still see the cracks. You can still see the cracks a little bit.
the Squillers,
Yeah,
yeah, it's they kind of lucked up with Drew Lock going out.
they definitely lucked up with that. Because even though Driscoll isn't the best quarterback, he's a decent backup. He's a decent backup. There's things that he misses, but there's a reason why he's always the number two quarterback on the team. He's
He really
decent.
reached his peak. I didn't think he'd see anything past number three, honestly. But that's not saying a lot about Driscoll when they call Blake Bortles up, and that's exactly who they just picked up.
Dang.
So I mean, but Pittsburgh, I mean, at the same time, you don't feel sorry for anybody with
Right.
injury, so you do what you had to do. Um, luckily for them, they're sitting at 2-0. They're feeling good about themselves. Juju, he stepped up. Um, James Conner, I just don't see it. I see he's all right, but he's a committee back.
Right.
So I mean, I just think it boiled down to they're doing it the Pittsburgh way, the old Pittsburgh way. It's not gonna be flashy, it's not gonna be fun, it's not gonna be cute, but they're getting the job done at least thus far. At some point, I think it's gonna catch up because you're gonna have to be able to score more points. You're gonna have to be able to be a formidable offense. Big Ben coming back that helps them a lot because Big Ben brings them structure. Mason Rudolph, he wasn't necessarily, he doesn't keep you on schedule. He's not a structured kind of guy. He's
Right.
just kind of there. He's more of a caretaker type of dude. Big Ben he still kind of has those flashes of big playability coming up. So I think at the end of the day, it's that kind of stability is what's going to make Pittsburgh tick, along with the run game, along with the defense, because they're going to have to kind of muddy it up and then let Big Ben kind of make the plays with his arms and his legs that he's accustomed to making, just not as dependent. Usually before it was Big Ben third down situations, more often than not going to be able to make the plays and get us the first downs and continue to keep these drives going. Now we see the flashes. Big Ben may not be do it consistently on third down, but that big third down when you need it, he's gonna be able to make that play for you. So I mean, they should be happy. They should be optimistic about where they're at right now. But again, it's still early. Every year there's these early 2-0 teams that make you kind of some. It's contender pretender kind of situations. Like I look at the Ravens as being more of contenders. I look at the Steelers as still kind of being that pretender lane. I know they're sitting at 2-0, but I'm not overly impressed. They just kind of they did what they had to do, but they didn't look dominant in doing it. The Ravens did
Right.
what they had
Like
to do, but they
when you think
dominated.
on like the teams they played, like the teams they played aren't like the Ravens. Like the Giants are in a rebuild. Daniel Jones not looking the same. Saquon he's out now for the rest of the season, and he wasn't looking the same. So it's like I wouldn't say they're not good, but they I don't know how to explain it. Like you could tell that eventually the team probably will be like 9-7 is their ceiling. I basically could say.
Around there, around that area. Um, it's and that's kind of going to my point about them not being dominant. Like I'm looking at the teams that they're playing, and I've from day one when I looked at the schedule, I knew that this is likely a 2-0 situation. Even if the Broncos, which I thought with Drew Lock they could be pretty good, at least offensively, because Drew Lock showed me some things, and they got some new weapons around during the draft time, and Melvin Gordon added to that mix. They have a pretty formidable offense, but everything was going to revolve around Drew Lock. So it was still, I thought Pittsburgh was ahead of them on that. Um, the Giants, that was an easy win. Um, so it's again, you want to win. Obviously, you want to do your thing, and they'll in their locker room they're probably saying, we got to win. That's all that matters. But it's still a way you do it, and it's a momentum thing. So I think that you You play who's on your schedule, you beat who's on your schedule, whoop de doo. But that momentum takes you to beat the better teams. So once their schedule starts to get tougher, I think that's the real Pittsburgh Steelers team that we'll be able to know and identify. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond when they playing somebody that can actually go upside their head. Because Denver had them, but Denver had Jeff Driscoll. I think if Denver has the Drew Lock, then Denver's looking at a whole different situation
Well, I
because they're
mean,
able to make the plays.
they got the Texans this week, so
Pittsburgh does.
yeah,
That's
that will be a more difficult game.
that's gonna be a cat fight just because the Texans are at 0-2. Now
Um,
the Texans, their 0-2 is a little
because
skewed.
I mean, yeah, they ran into basically the top two teams in the AFC. So
The schedule makers hated them for that. I don't know
much they hated them.
whose idea was that. Let me
Like
go ahead and give them the Chiefs and the Ravens week 1 and 2.
that's
I
crazy.
caramba. But as far as Pittsburgh, you have to be concerned because now you have a wounded dog out there. So I still think Houston's a pretty decent team. Now, I don't think that they're a playoff team. I don't think that they're really a good team, but I think they're more comparable to that Pittsburgh Steeler area where that 7-9 to 9-7 kind
Right.
of area. You're already down 0-2, and you got to look at Pittsburgh and say that they're not scaring anybody. If you think you can get yours off, this will be the week that you can. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond on that one. But I mean, outside of that, just division talk wise, I think at the end of the day, the division is about where I thought it was going to be after 2 games. I didn't see the Bengals winning either of their first two, even though they had a shot. I thought the game against the Chargers was definitely their best shot, but they didn't get it done. It is what it is, but I think it's optimism for them. The Browns, you kind of got punched in the face. Week 1 ain't no kind of you got punched in the face week 1, but you responded week 2. And sometimes it's not about the punch; it's about the counter punch. So
Right.
the way that they came back and responded, and if you can ride this wave, because you can throw away week 1 if you're the Browns and say, you know what,
Like it's the better team. That should have. It shouldn't have been that outcome like that, but it should have been a loss at
yeah.
best.
But you got to have that momentum too, and you got to tell yourself, well, last year
Right.
this is what happened to them, and then they came back that next time we played and they beat us down.
Right.
So we, as the Browns, need to be that kind of mentality where next time we see the Ravens, it's on like popcorn. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
That has to make you mad. But we have to see how they respond because the Ravens, they look at this point like they don't have to be at their best to beat you. The Browns look like they have to do everything the right way to beat the Ravens. They don't have to
Right.
do that against everybody. But if they can keep that play style that they have last week against the Bengals, they can keep that up. That's the Browns team that you can see going forward
Yeah.
because you
Like
got the run game involved.
yeah, it seemed like they found their offense. Like it seems once you feed the run and then you let Baker feed off the run with that play action,
Yeah,
let him roll out. So
it's like that phrase, "Do you?"
right.
That's all it is. Is do what you do. You don't have to. I think with the Ravens, it was they probably try to get up as much as possible for that game, and you built yourself up for a letdown, and that's what happened. They weren't doing them. All this stuff was uncharacteristic. That's why everything that could go wrong did go wrong with the Browns that week 1. But they bounced back and they played their game week 2, and if they can continue that, which is always the iffy thing, and that's something else that we really didn't speak too much on, but I think that was a big deal. Stefanski after week 1. This is a fresh new, brand new coach. You don't really think that because he's been in the league for so long and he's been doing it for so long, but this is his first time as being a head coach and dealing with the COVID situation, not being able to really be able to get the feel the way he needed to get the feel preseason wise and training camp and all that. I think that showed week 1. I think he was smart enough to see what went wrong and how he needed to go about things, and that showed in week 2. Now, this week is going to show which team it really is, I feel like, because you're dealing with kind of the Baker situation all over again. You had the rookie year where he looked real good, the sophomore year where he looked real bad. So you need to find out who's the real Baker. You need to find out who's the real Cleveland Browns. We know who the real Ravens are. We don't know who the real Steelers are yet, and the Bengals are still a to be determined situation. But standing wise, it's about where I can see it.
All right. So we're gonna go to commercial real quick. Then we'll be back to continue talking more AFC North football. You know. But we back talking AFC North football. I guess we could continue with week. Well, let's start week 2. See how they can bounce in week 3. Because week 3, the Texans is playing the Steelers. The Ravens got the Chiefs. The Browns got Who the Browns got?
Redskins.
Redskins, and the Bengals got the Eagles. So I guess we could.
I'm gonna say this. The Bengals. That's the game. Obviously you want to talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Right.
That's where you pinpoint. But the Bengals Eagles, I think that's a humongous game because for the Bengals, the Eagles are still looked at as a good team or a formidable team, even though they haven't played like that. They're really in a must-win kind of situation. But if the Bengals can kind of scrounge up a win against them, those are the kind of like to me that's the kind of season the um, Bengals want to have. They want to have one of those seasons where the record's not going to be that great, but you beat teams that are somewhat good or you thought was good, or you bury a team. And I think that's kind of my point about talking about the Bengals and the Eagles is by doing this, you bury them
I
now.
mean,
If you beat them,
even from like when you was discussing Justin Herbert, like they look good against the Chiefs.
yeah,
Like even if we look good against the Eagles, like we don't have to beat them. We just gotta look good. That brings optimism to our future.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the levels that come with it. Um, I think that if you want to get a win, because you want to be able to beat a team that they're playing like their hair's on fire, because the Eagles are that way. That's a
Right.
division that I don't want to say it's easily winnable, but
I
the only
mean,
real competition is Dallas.
no, but
So you know that 0-2 you can kind of come back from. If you're 1-2, then you're still looking at a pretty good spot. But if you're 0-3, it's probably a wrap for you in that division. Especially the Falcons didn't do them no favors by letting the Cowboys come back and beat them. But you have to bury them if you're the Bengals, um, and you have to get you a good win. And that's one of those situations where it's a team that's it's a good team, but it's a team that you can beat, and you have to come out and you show that. I think the Browns were still kind of trying to figure it out. Unfortunately for the Bengals, it was after a beatdown kind of game, so they were going to respond like it was their Super Bowl. That's how I look at the Eagles are coming out. I thought the Bengals responded well to the Browns. They just don't have enough firepower right now to be able to actually beat them. But they look good. We're
all right,
singing Joe Burrow's praises right now because he looks somewhat good. But that has to stay up on a better defense, better team, and you will be able to eliminate a squad just by doing what you're doing right now. So I think that that's going to be key for the Bengals. So just everything's a confidence booster from all the reports that I've been reading. Sounds like Gino should be on his way back.
all right.
So that should
And
open up things.
speaking of that, I know we just signed someone, Damon Harrison. We just signed him.
Snacks,
Yeah.
boy, boy. I know one thing. That
What?
team may not be no good, but that defensive line, I didn't know Snacks was still out there.
Yeah.
But that is a humongous pickup because Snacks stops the run. First of
Right.
all, anytime you got a big D tackle nicknamed Snacks, I want him. Like I want him on my team. Anybody's nickname is Snacks, come to holla at me.
Mm,
But to add to that mix of that D tackle room, and that just again that helps keep guys fresh. Um, on a side note, that makes me kind of worried about Geno
yeah, it
Atkins.
makes me worry about Gino and Mike.
Yeah, because why are you, saying why are you still bringing in? Because you would have thought when you brought in Mike, that's
Right.
kind of insurance. Then you bring in Covington. Okay, what are we doing here? Then you bring in Snacks. All right, I want to see something because at some point you only can play two D tackles. At least I would think.
Yeah, you can only play two.
I mean, unless you want to throw Geno on the edge
And unless you
or.
want to take what Sam Hubbard off or Lawson or whatever one starts on the right or the left.
I mean, it's going to be a lot that they're going to have to figure out. I mean, and again, these are good problems, and I would say that another thing that you got to look at is maybe the Bengals defense is kind of becoming something. Maybe we don't give it enough credit, and obviously last week doesn't really show how great they could be, but you seeing these players, they're looking at the Bengals defense kind of a little bit different, and maybe just maybe the defenders are starting to believe in Joe too. So it's wanting to build something special, which I think the Bengals they're not far off. I don't think, but I just think that they were so far last year that it still takes some time to build. But adding pieces to that on short term deals and kind of proven situations, it kind of opens up different playing techniques for them to be able to build keep building off of what they're doing now. So again, everything with the Bengals is about momentum, and There's no better way to continue that momentum by beating Philly.
Right. And I missed the word. It's reportedly interested in signing. I said sign. We haven't signed him yet, but we're interested. So yeah,
Well, I
if
mean,
he comes, that's gonna be big.
that's still a quality get, even if you can, and it still says something about the organization that they're still trying to build and bring talent in. They're not necessarily trying to be bad. And that's
Right.
again, that's what you want to see. They're not intentionally trying to be bad. They're not tanking. They're trying to be good, but they were just so far behind that it's going to take a minute to just keep building and building and building and building. But they're trending in the right direction. You just have to get again Joe Burrows that pass or attempt needs to come up, and you need to start getting Joe Mixon involved a little bit more, and AJ Green needs to come along. But these are the things that will come the further and further the season progresses. But you just have to keep on that trajectory. Of course, you have to win some games, but again, this is a good type of game to come in and show what you have. So, I mean, that's to me that's the most interesting game. Just off of that, obviously the best game is going to be the Ravens and the Chiefs. I mean, that's that ding ding ding. Let's get it on.
And that's
Let's
the
bang.
heavyweight. That's the heavyweight fight right there.
I want to see it. I'll put that around me all around because that's I love these precursors to bigger things games. This could be a we see you in January kind of situation, or this could be you know, um, a momentum swing for either team. Um, Shout out to Adam Dale who believes the Ravens are going 16-0.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Even on their worst day, they looking like they could go 16-0,
Um,
at least 15-1.
I get that, but I'm also big on the if you're the target, you're the hunted mentality.
I mean, are they really the target though?
Yeah, I think they are. People know what's up with Kansas City, but I think still, even last year, Kansas City was doing what they was doing. They ended up winning the Super Bowl, but all you really heard about was the Ravens for the most part.
Right.
I think a lot of people, and it's kind of like that new thing, and it's still a kind of um polarizing thing too with Lamar Jackson because you still have some people who thought coming out he should have been a wide receiver or cornerback or something like that. A lot of people didn't believe he was a quarterback. So
Yeah.
you have some people who, if you were on the side of him being a quarterback, you might overdo it. So you wanted to root for the Ravens. You wanted to see the Ravens do good. And they wet the bed come playoff time. But you wanted to see them be where Kansas City ended up being. Kansas City didn't have the year that they had before. They just had a good year, a great
I
year.
mean, look. To be honest, they didn't win that. San Francisco lost. That's the real truth.
I don't know, man. I believe too much in Project Pat Mahomes.
I
I'll tell
don't
you
know,
that.
man. If he didn't go away from the run, it would be San Francisco that had that championship.
Well, I mean, it's also Kansas City has to capitalize, and they have to be great. And that's what ended up happening. But again, if you're the Ravens, this is kind of one of those who means more to what. I think it means more to the Ravens than it does to the Chiefs, just because this is a barometer game. The
Right.
Ravens, you're probably looking at the division and saying, I'm not necessarily worried about the Steelers, the Bengals, or the
No, they
Browns.
better be.
I mean, they should, but they probably looking at it like that's not who we're worried about. We're worried
Right.
about the top tier guys. We're worried about the Patriots, maybe, or the Bills who might come out of that division. We're worried about the Chiefs. We're worried about the championship level. So when you get to this game, you gotta see if your quarterback's better than Pat Mahomes. Right now, Pat Mahomes is the guy. I know I've had this conversation with Coach that I would still everything Lamar Jackson does, I still take Pat Mahomes over him, flat out. I'm taking my chances with my guy. But if you're Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, you got to look at it. I got the best quarterback in the league. At least that's how you have to feel. We'll go out there and prove it. And this is one where all eyes is on you. It's the Monday night game. I know I'll be watching. So you have to come out and you have to establish dominance. So um, while the Bengals and the Eagles is the most intriguing game, it's obviously all going to watch the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Right.
Tyreek Hill, I'm gonna need you to do something on my fantasy squad. By the way, I'm 0-2 over here, brother.
You 0-2.
0-2.
Hey, we 1-1. Lamar, keep balling, Lamar.
Me and Gronkowski gonna have to have a conversation. because he out there wasting my time, and I don't want to cut him because I already know it'll come back to bite me. But I ain't dealing with 0-3. I'm coming for you, Red.
Yeah, I'm gonna need. Yeah, Lamar keep balling. Mark Ingram, you was balling last week, so keep that trend. Keep that trend. My fantasy team looking a little decent, especially against Ty. We not shouting him out. We not shouting his show out. Yeah, forget Ty.
Beef. Ooh, that's what I like to hear. He coming in the comment section at some point. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But as far as the Browns and Redskins, you better beat them.
I don't know. The Redskins looking different this
You
year.
better beat them.
They 2-0 right now.
You, no, they're not.
Yes, they are.
The Redskins?
Yeah, the Redskins are 2-0.
They lost last week.
They did they?
Yeah, they won at one. They lost to the Cardinals.
Oh, they did lose to the Cardinals.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But I mean, that's the team you have to beat.
I mean, they looking like they could have been 2-0.
Not after last week, because the Cardinals beat them down. But after
I mean, the Cardinals is a different team.
now, yeah. But um, you have to still beat them.
Yeah.
The Browns are a better team, and that's what happened last year. Is that the paper thing kind of happened where you're a better team on paper, but you lose to these teams because you don't have the cojones. And I think that when you get to it, you got to be able to beat. You got to be able to beat the teams that you should beat. Dwayne Haskins, he's taking strides, but he's still not there yet.
I mean, I will say I don't think he has receivers like that. The only receiver he has, I can't think of his name, but I want to say he played with him at Ohio State.
Terry McLaurin,
yeah, that's the only one he really has, and they both on what the second year.
Yeah.
So
well,
they
that's why
both
you have to beat them. If you're the Browns, that's why you have to beat them.
Yeah, you definitely have to.
Now their D line is scary, scary good, but
very scary.
If you want to establish dominance at that offensive line, that's a good challenge. Like it's the game in between the game. Maybe you do have a more talented roster than they do, but they can argue that their defensive line is better than your offensive line.
Basically, kind of looking at it, this Washington and Browns game, it's kind of like how the Browns and Bengals were. Like Washington on defense look a little further along than the Bengals do, but it still looks like a game that could be a shootout, like 30-35, how that ended.
I can see that. But if you're the Browns, that's going to be discouraging if that's the case because you can look at the game against Joe Burrows and the Bengals and say, well, this kid's going to be special. And they were clicking. So we can deal with giving up 31 because it was just that kind of game, shootout, whatever. If the Redskins do that to you, you're going to have a problem on that defensive side. Somebody getting fired.
That secondary it's abysmal.
Yeah. But
y'all got injuries, though.
Yeah, it's gonna get better because Greedy should be showing up here soon. Denzel Ward played last week, and you could tell the difference that a lot of why AJ Green didn't do what he should have did was because Denzel Ward was out there.
Yeah, Denzel Ward was causing problems, but also AJ ain't the same.
No, I mean, but that's what happened after a year off. Just with AJ, you just gotta hope
it's 2 years off.
2 years.
Yeah.
You just gotta hope that AJ can stay motivated and kind of get his footing behind him. And I don't know how real that is, but you hear what they were saying that he was talking about that Joe Burrows looks real. Like Joe Burrows is the guy.
No, I truly believe he said that.
Yeah. I mean, AJ Green don't say much.
Yeah, he don't, but when he talks, you can hear it.
Yeah, you better listen. So I think he's getting into his area, and he's gonna grow. And it's kind of an adjustment too because it's not just AJ Green. Tyler Boyd was the number one all year. You know what I'm saying? So he's used to being in a certain type of spot and doing what he needs to do. John Ross has to find his footing, which is going to be challenging for him to do because the playing time ain't where it used to be or where it could be. We're just happy he's healthy. T. Higgins is trying to find his way. Even though the few times the ball did come his way, T. Higgins looked good.
Yeah.
He looks real good in the 85. If you're going to wear that,
you're going to have to bring it. You're going to have to bring that.
You have to bring it. But
I need that route running precise.
Absolutely. But again, that's the thing that the Bengals need to start seeing is, okay, who's going to be with me next year?
All right.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that, was it Half Baked? It's just like when he quit, said, who's coming with me?
Half Baked.
Was it Half Baked? Yeah, it was Half Baked.
No, you talk.
The blank you, you're cool. No, it wasn't Half. Yeah, it was Half Baked.
Oh, you talking about with Will Ferrell, the movie?
No, fool, not Will Ferrell. Half Baked, Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
Yes, you gotta get your
Did he
movie.
say that in Dave Chappelle? I mean, in Half Baked,
Yes, when he quit, not Dave Chappelle didn't quit. Can't
the
remember the dude's
character in
name.
the movie.
Yeah, when he said blank you,
Oh, so I
blank
gotta
you,
watch Half
you're
Baked again.
cool, blank you. Who's coming with me?
I gotta watch Half
That's
Baked
Joe
again, man.
Burrows. He got to figure out what receivers to come. John Ross gonna be that guy that comes with him. Is AJ Green gonna get that contract extension? Is he
Right.
coming with him? Who's gonna be? No, Joe Mixon's gonna be there. Jonah Williams is looking good. That offensive line's not looking good, but
I
Jonah
mean,
Williams is looking good.
yeah, Jonah Williams. The only thing that's not looking good about that offensive line is the fact that they got Fred Johnson and Bobby Hart right next to each other. That's not looking good at all.
That don't even sound good though.
At all.
I don't. Fred Johnson. That sounds like a default name when you go create a player on Madden. Fred Johnson.
I mean, well,
Change his
it
name.
was Fred Johnson and Bobby Hart that let Miles Garrett get in. They got that fumble. So
Great, great sack,
it's
great
not
sack,
looking
Miles
good.
Garrett.
It's not looking good.
That's what I like to see. That was a good man. That was the momentum shifter right there too,
Yeah, so
boy.
that really was.
But I mean, that's where the Bengals are at, though. Let me see what we have and who's coming with me. It's different for the Browns. The Browns think they have what they're going to have. They think they have the core, but if you start losing games to like the Redskins, you don't have that core anymore. Something's
Nope.
going to have to shake, And I mean, Baker's riding that high, but he's going to have to keep that momentum going too. So I mean, I think that's why that it's not as intriguing as the other two games because this is one of those games where you look at on the schedule and you say, well, this should be a win for the Browns if
Right.
you're going to be the team that you think you're going to be. If you look up and you're 1-2 and you lost to the Ravens and the Redskins, you're gonna have a big problem in your hands. The
Yeah,
only team you
big
beat is
problem.
Cincinnati. So I mean that's troubling, but we'll see how that goes. And obviously, I'm gonna be the biggest Texas fan this week, baby. Let's do it. One, I got David Johnson on my fantasy squad, so I need him to play lights out. Um,
Honestly, I'm gonna have to be. I might just a little bit be a Steelers fan this week. I got Claypool.
fired,
I got Claypool.
fired.
He gonna have to take Larry's position in my fantasy because Larry's being he in number two. He a solid number two, but Claypool was looking decent last week, so I might have to be a Steelers fan low key.
Who told us to do a 14 league fantasy? That is just it is bare bones over there.
They got me doing things I never thought I'd ever do. I'm about to be a Steelers fan 1 week.
That's something I know I'll never do.
That hurts.
They ain't coming nowhere near me. I don't want to kick it from them.
Oh, I
But
do got Boswell too.
trader Ty, you feel like being employed today?
Ty losing. That's nah.
Anyway, to talk actual football, not what I want to see with the Steelers. Um, for them, they need to ride the same momentum. They're 2-0. It doesn't matter how you got there. You're 2-0 right now. To establish dominance in your division, you want to keep pace with the Ravens if you're already there close to them. So you have to, especially a game that when you look at the schedule, this would be a one that you can not count on them taking the L2, but this is a strong chance that they could lose. They're playing against the defending champions. So if you are the Steelers, you want to be able to, even if it's for a split second, to be at the top of that division. And the best way you can do it is beating the Texans. And what that does is twofold. You eliminate kind of the Texans in a way. Like obviously the season's not over if they lose, but you're 0-3. You only got 16 weeks to do this. You know what I'm saying? So you get another playoff team. I understand all that, but 0-3 is a tough hill to climb out of.
Right.
So if you get them to that point, it's twofold. You look good in your division. Your playoff spot looks better and better by the day. You get rid of another potential challenger just in case the Ravens pass you by and you have to fight for that wild card spot. So if you are the Steelers, you need to bring it. On the flip side of the Ravens, I mean, excuse me, the Texans, you need to play like your head's on fire. You need to play like you're about to get fired, Bill O'Brien, because that's what it boils down to.
Right.
You need David Johnson to be the all-pro David Johnson that he could have been or he used to be because that makes that trade not look stupid. You see DeAndre Hopkins now, he makes you look bad. I understand the dynamics of it. You probably wouldn't have been able to sign Deshaun Watson to that contract if you would have kept DeAndre Hopkins. I get all of that.
Was it a contract that was holding that up?
That's what they say because you got to look at DeAndre Hopkins. He's making $25 million a year, and the reason he's doing that is because they have a rookie um, under that rookie contract.
Right.
That's not always going to be the case. Deshaun Watson was coming off of that rookie contract. So it would have been hard to pay that man that kind of money because that's, let's say you're giving 25 million to DeAndre Hopkins, 30 million to Deshaun Watkins. It's 55 million a year contract. I can do math. That's
Yeah,
55
that's a
minutes.
surprise.
55 million.
Hey, you the one that don't like math.
Man,
But
look,
before you keep going, shout out to Jay Slayman who says, "Hey, at least you guys didn't lose the best player on your fantasy team, and it seems he lost McCaffrey. That really hurts. I gotta put a sad face on that
ay
one,
caramba, ayos míos.
you know. But shout out to him. He seems he's a top fan, you know. Shout out to him commenting, you know. Appreciate it. Share it out. Appreciate you watching us. Everything, you know. Shout out to you, man. But going with your point.
It was where was I at? I forgot where.
You was talking about math
Oh,
losing what was it, Deshaun Watson's
see, math threw me off. Math always throws me off. But it what it boiled down to is that's 55 million of your cap that you know use on two players. So I get it, but the return was the problem for me. David Johnson, it's a buy low kind of thing because he's not removed too far removed from being a 2,000 yard from scrimmage guy, but you have to kind of remake your team. And I always thought that they should have kind of looked at another wide receiver during that draft. CD Lamb would have looked real good on that team. Jerry Judy would have looked real good on that team. Get you if you can't have the dynamic of a cheap quarterback and a high paid wide receiver, why not flip it around? You know, it's cool with getting David Johnson, but I think that they could have got something else out of that. I'm telling you, give me a first rounder too.
All right.
You know, David Johnson, this is a definitely buy low situation. So help wet my whistle a little bit more so we can build the team that's not looking 0-2 right now, looking 0-3 in the in the barrel. But for them, for the Texans, they have to win this one because it means way more than just a win. The Steelers can kind of afford to lose one. First of all, Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere, but it's they're kind of up right now. It's gonna bring some allurement to them if they do lose this game because they beat the team that they were supposed to beat, but now they get a little bit of a challenger because you still don't know what the Texans are because you can't. They played the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. You cannot be able to properly judge that because they played the two best teams. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers should be more on their level.
Right.
Who are you really? This is kind of one of them who are you weekends, at least in the AFC North. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
Football.
it too. Especially to help my fantasy team because Ty is going down. Ty is truly going down.
Hannah banana. It's trouble for
Yes,
you.
sir. But looking at it all, I mean, I guess we could kind of give predictions. So, looking at the Ravens and Chiefs, what are you looking at? Because me, I'm looking at a Ravens win. To me, they look more impressive through these 2 weeks than the Chiefs have. So I'm looking at it's gonna be a shootout, maybe like 30-28.
I am never ever betting against Project Pat Mahomes. Never.
But you gotta stop calling them that.
Never. I've never stopped calling him that either. These Project Pat Mahomes are me. Get him all to break the laws for him. But yeah, Kansas City. All the way.
You got Kansas City.
Yep.
What you got, like the dominating or it's a close game?
No, I think it's a close game. I'm not big on scores, but I'll give you 35-28.
I mean, I'm not big on scores either, but scores are fun.
We'll go with that one. I just think that Kansas City, if you can game plan around Lamar Jackson.
Right.
It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's extremely hard to game plan around him, but you can kind of fit him into a role. If you make him a drop back passer, you win it. Not maybe not necessarily the game, but you win the game plan by keeping him in the pocket. Pat Mahomes, you keep him in the pocket. Bye bye. It's a wrap. Pat Mahomes, he rolls out. Bye bye. It's a wrap. Pat Mahomes on his back. Bye bye. It's a wrap. Pat Mahomes looking that way, throwing the ball that way. Bye bye. It's a wrap.
All
I
right, bro.
believe in
We
Project
get
Pat.
it. We get it.
No, I don't.
We get it.
I don't. I can talk all day about him, and I don't think it expresses how dope that dude is,
Man,
man.
I
Like
need Coach here to talk about his team. God,
coaching that bad patella tendon. He alright. He cool.
man,
Go ahead and watch your Ravens in that hospital.
that's crazy.
That leg up.
All right, but
Be alright.
Steelers Texans.
Texans. That's because I'm a hater.
Look, as long as Claypool ball out and Boswell ball out, I don't care if the Steelers win. I mean, well, I care if they win. I don't want them to win. I want them to lose, but at least it's Claypool and Boswell ball out because Claypool about to be a starter on my team. But I got the Texans probably winning that. You know, they're probably hungry for a win. Deshaun Watson, he looked decent enough in those two games, but you can't really, like you said, you can't gauge that against the two top teams in the AFC. So yeah, Browns, Washington.
Oof.
I got Washington just because he did that.
Oh, you want to bet?
you,
Wager?
what we bet?
We'll figure it out.
All right,
Can't talk about that on air.
all right, but I got Washington. I got Washington.
I, I had the Browns, but it's again, this is one of them. You have to win them. Um, the Redskins, if the Redskins win, make sure to definitely be tuned in next week on Nutty North because I'm going to snap. That's just what's going. That's what's going to. That's what's going to happen. If you look forward to seeing me snap and lose my cool, then you want to check in every week after the Browns loss. I'm a lot happier this week than I would have been last week. But it's still like again, there's games between the games. So the Browns can come out, be dominant, whatever, do what they have to do, win. That's what I want to see. But I'm also watching that offensive line and that defensive line, how they battle. Let me see what happens there because that battle against the Redskins defensive line may go a long way going towards the future with the Browns. That's going to be one of the toughest defensive lines they're going to see. They're not going to not the toughest defense, but just that defensive line. That's going to get them together. So that's going to help them when they play the Steelers. It's going to help them when they play the Ravens. That's going to help them when they play the Bengals again. Like all that's going to come into play just by this Redskins game. So I see the Browns winning, but I do want to see the game in between the game.
Like I said, Washington look decent enough in the opening against the Eagles. That's what leaves me optimistic that the Bengals are going to beat the Eagles. I didn't really see the game for them against the Cardinals, but I'm optimistic that they look decent enough against the Cardinals. You said they didn't,
No,
but
it's the score. Like if you look at the scoreboard, you would think that they had a better game. It was
right.
really blowout city early, and I actually put the Cardinals defense on my fantasy team
Oh,
just
so
because they was playing Redskins.
30-15.
Yeah, it was, and that 15 came late. So
Right, but I think if they'll bounce back. They seem like they can stop the run. It's definitely up front with that defensive line. As long as you stop the run, you stop the Browns, basically.
that's the main thing. Like, yeah, you definitely hit that nail on the head with that.
Yeah,
That's what destroyed them against the Bengals. It wasn't. It was the two-headed monster.
right.
Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That's
I mean, you don't even have to fully stop it. You slow one down and have the other one slightly, slightly moving, then you could still have a chance to win. So I'll say it'd be a close game, but I still got the, Washington edging out. Because they're not the Redskins no more. They're the football team.
Mama calling the Redskins. I'm gonna call them the Redskins.
They're the football
I'm
team.
not the most politically correct person in the world. I'm not gonna call them the Washington football team either.
I just call them the football team because it's funny now. But
That's a
Bengals,
shame.
Eagles, I got the Bengals. I mean, I guess as what's the term, Homer? I have no clue what that even means.
You're biased.
I am biased.
Homer pick.
I'm
No.
strictly biased. But the Eagles haven't been looking good in these 2 weeks, so and we look optimistically hopeful for this future. So I got the Bengals.
Where's the that doesn't play as much of a factor because the crowd situation, but depending on where the game's at too.
Is that Philly?
Is that Philly? Yeah, I'm
I
going
still
with
got it.
Philly.
You gonna go with
I'm
Philly?
gonna go with Philly. Philly.
That's crazy.
Just because I feel like they're a better team than what they've been showing. So, and they have to have a win. The Bengals don't. So it's something about a corner dog, the how they respond, and I think
Right.
Philly's there at that point. They still have a pretty good team. So, with all that being said, you have to at least come out and beat this team. Because if you don't beat this team,
Then it's
it's
time to
trouble.
blow it up.
Yeah, it's
Cause
trouble.
I'm gonna be honest, I give us to week 5. Like we could go 0-5, I'll be fine. As long as we look good through these 5 games, we could be on 5.
And that's all that matters is once you starting from the bottom, you have to really pick your team up. But that's again, that's why Joe Burrows being good means so much because you have less worry. Joe Burrows being good, and y'all 3-13, that keeps Zach Taylor's job.
Right.
Joe Burrow's looking terrible, and y'all being 3-13. Zach Taylor out here for a lot of applications. You know what I'm saying? That it's just it boils down to that.
I mean, I think his contract like 4 years, but
Contracts, contracts.
yeah, I mean Marvin Lewis, I think he had like 4 years. He got fired and with 2 years left, so yeah, it don't really matter.
No, but we'll see. I mean, I can see the Bengals coming out with the win just because the Eagles may not be as good as we all think.
Right.
But I just think that the Eagles are at that point where I mean, either way, we're going to know this week after Sunday. We'll know for sure what the Eagles are going to be this year.
I mean, to be honest, it seems like it's trouble in Philadelphia. It, a lot of reports is coming out that it's trouble. Like Carson Wentz don't want to listen to Doug Peterson or something like that.
Well, they just picked up a quarterback in the draft, so he might.
Yeah, like they got what, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. So he might feel like his days is numbered, even though it's kind of weird because he just got that big contract. Yeah. So I don't get it, but at the same time, you got to keep it real with yourself. You're Carson Wentz. You've been injured a lot. You've been injured when your team needs you the most, and you were injured when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl for you.
I mean, that seems to be the biggest problem. He's trying to compensate. So let's hope he continues to compensate and it results in them losing, going 0-3.
We'll see, but quit crying and just play.
But that's the end of my show notes. Unless you got anything else you want to
say. Make sure to check us out every week. And again, if you want to see me lose my mind, make sure to check us out when the Browns lose. But outside of that, man, just keep sharing, liking, support. I peep everything. I peep the shares we get. I appreciate every one of those, the views. Just everything about showing love, man, and being where we're at right now is actually sitting up here talking about football.
Yes, sir.
Football actually being played that we watch. If you've been here with us during the show, you've seen week by week of having really pretty much no news, but finding a way to get to this point now where we're actually giving you game previews and Rondale's over here hurting himself. Safety first, buddy. But nah, I mean outside of that, we appreciate all the love and support, and keep checking us out. We will be here.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's the end of the show. My last thoughts is basically to reiterate what T just said. He always just taking my shine. I don't know what's up with that.
Over here. You can have this seat all day.
Bro, relax.
You just gotta bring the juice.
Relax.
You gotta bring the juice.
We in our respective spots. All right. But nah, the only thing I gotta say is all these games this week for the AFC North, they look like close games, Other than the Browns, that should definitely be a win, a blowout. So just tune in, watch them, and we'll be back next week to talk about them. Hopefully T's gonna be on a razor, and hopefully I'm sitting here smiling. But I'll be smiling. I'll be smiling regardless. But catch y'all next week.